of people on this one.
Welcome, and thank you for spending your lunch hour with us today. My name is Sarah Miller-Locke, and I'm the Divisional Director of Advancement for the Salvation Army's Empire State Division. The Salvation Army's Long Point Camp has been making memories for children since 1953, and that introduction is just a snapshot of the joyous times and smiling faces of those who have spent their summers with us over the years. Today, we're going to highlight the past, present, and future of the Salvation Army camping experience, and specifically Long Point Camp. Before we start the program, though, I want to turn it over and introduce you to Lieutenant Alberta Rakestraw. She is the commanding officer of the Fulton Corps, and she will lead us in a brief devotional. Lieutenant?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I am thankful to be able to share a devotional thought with you all this morning. Children are just wonderful, and I have such a big place for them in my heart. I have a godson that will be 3 next month, who means the world to me. I've made quite the impact on him. I tell you, he can transform a stressful day easily. When I call, he excitedly keeps saying, "Tenant, Tenant." When I arrive, whoa, his cheers are so big and loud, everybody needs a little cheerleader. I admit that I am totally biased, but he is the cutest, smartest little boy ever, even if he's a little defiant at times. I don't know much about being a godparent, but what I gather is that it's about that I get to pray with him, for him, play a role in helping him grow in Jesus. I take that responsibility seriously, especially knowing how important children are in the kingdom of God. I spent many summers working at camp, and there's one song I remember singing with the campers during evening program. The words say, "Making melodies in my heart, making melodies in my heart, making melodies to the King of Kings." I recently taught this song to my godson, and he picked it up so quickly. It's so cute to see children singing about the King of Kings. But what joy it is when they go from singing words to living out those words out of true devotion to the King of Kings. Thinking about my responsibility to my godson, I think about a verse that is often related to parenting and children. It's from Proverbs 22:6, and it says, "Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it." We are called to do our part, take the opportunity to share with them God's love for them, and spur them on to a life of obedience out of an authentic love for God. We must be careful to what we are teaching the children around us, because the training does not come only through specific instruction and discipline. The words we say and how we live can speak loudly to those little eyes and ears that are watching. Many children are able to get the chance to be trained up in a way that they should go while being here at camp. I know I'm here today because of the influence of my time at camp and growing up on my Corps. It's such a joy to think about all the children I have influenced through the years, and now I'm able to play a role in influencing my godson and hopefully my own children someday. I encourage you all to do your part in leading a little one to the arms of Jesus. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this time that we can gather, and I thank you for Long Point Camp and the ministry that it serves and all the lives that it's impacted in the past and the lives that it's going to impact right now and in the future. Just continue to work in the lives that we all have influence in the children. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Alberta. We really appreciate that word from the Lord. And you certainly make a very good point that the impact that we have on children is so significant and should not be undersold. Friends, my name is Major Ivan Rock. I know many of you, but I don't know all of you. I'm the state commander, the divisional commander for the Salvation Army Empire State Division. And it is so good to have you here today. Thank you for spending your lunch hour with us. It continues to be just so important, friends, that we gather together in whatever way we can during these uncertain times. We need to be reminded of our partnership as we move forward into the future. Today, I want to bring all of us together and share with you, our loyal supporters, a bit about one of the most important ministries in the Salvation Army. I think you'll agree that the need for hope, after what we've all been through in the past 16 months is, well, it's just greater than ever before. We are just now, I think, starting to learn about the effects of isolation and the effects of loneliness on not only adults, but on our children. Our kids are really being dramatically impacted by what's happened over the last number of months. And even prior to COVID, did you know this, that more than 878,000 children were part of the vast landscape of childhood poverty here in New York State? Imagine with me for a minute, the life of an inner city child who struggles in school, who has very little nutritious food at home, and whose parents work long and unreliable shifts. Or a child living in a rural community whose families struggle with seasonal unemployment and they live miles from the nearest grocery store. Imagine children from families, big and small, where finding a stable and steady income is a challenge, and all these dangers that we talk about to the well-being of our children. I think you know that they tend in our part of the world to get worse during the summer months as they're away from school, as some parents struggle to find consistent employment. For the last 65 years, the Salvation Army's Camping and Retreat Ministry has been helping these children from all kinds of families to find hope by providing experiences to grow and to learn in a safe and supportive environment. Camp has given them an opportunity to have positive role models in their lives, to dream about the future. How important is it to dream? But they get that chance and they come to camp to dream about the future and to discover that God really does love them. Today, you're going to hear from someone whose life was dramatically and positively impacted by the Salvation Army Camping Ministry. He's one of our camp alumni, as we like to call them. His name is Jimmer Sikowski. He attended Salvation Army Camp as a 5th grader, and today he's a successful business owner, and he's going to share what camp has meant to him, what his camp experience meant to him, and how it continues to impact his life more than 30 years later. Now, Jimmer had hoped to be with us. He wishes he could be here in person, but his schedule just wouldn't allow it. So what we did is we did the next best thing, and he sent a video recording of himself talking about Salvation Army camping. So, friends, would you just take a look at Jimmer as he's presented now?
My name is Jimmer Sikowski, and I went to camp like 38 years ago, and it was hugely impactful in my life. I went to Camp Troutberg when I was in 5th grade, and I had never been to a summer camp before, and certainly it wasn't something that I had signed up for, but it was like a life-changing experience for me. My childhood was one of like a lot of chaos, and the environment we grew up in was pretty challenging. And it was kind of the first time in my life where I felt some sense of structure and safety and security. And I actually was thinking a lot about who my counselor was in my cabin. A guy by the name of Josue. For forget him. He had really, really deep faith in God, and talked about that a lot. And it was the first time I was kind of exposed to that too in my life. And that environment just kind of gave me some hope, like this is what life could really look like. I actually just went to camp 1 year. My younger brother went 2 years and actually went back and did, he was like an assistant counselor for 1 year. So it was a big deal for both of us. So we both support Long Point Camp. He realized that kids in our town, in Orleans County, not a lot of them were going to camp. And we have a really high rate of poverty in our town, so it didn't make a lot of sense. So he worked with local business owners to raise funds for the transport of the kids over. And that's dramatically increased the number of people that go there from Orleans County. And then he reached out to me when I became a Chick-fil-A operator and said, hey, why don't we meet there when we bring in the kids from Orleans County and we just feed them all? Chick-fil-A. And so, for the last couple of years, that's what we've done. And it's like, it's just so awesome to see the kids there and know what they're going through. But also, like, they freak out when they see Chick-fil-A. So it's like, it makes you feel pretty good when you show up with a bunch of Chick-fil-A food and the kids are like, ah. I became an owner just over 3 years ago. So I had spent 20 years at IBM. I was a supply chain executive for IBM, and I just had this deep feeling that God wanted me to do something a bit more impactful in my life. And so, God kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I became a Chick-fil-A operator 3 years ago. What we do is we run the company based on Christian principles. So certainly the most obvious statement of that is we do close on Sundays, but really it permeates, how do we treat the people who work here? How do we treat our guests? It's the foundation for everything we do. It's been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and the most gratifying thing I've ever done in my life. It really creates a pretty amazing platform to help me better the lives of other people. Certainly, I think, I learned at camp, I was surrounded by some people, particularly the counselors and the staff, who, showed me like habits, things like making the bed and like getting, there would be a competition on who had the cleanest cabin, like simple things like that. Basic discipline in your life that leads to success. Absolutely. And I think the other piece, and I referenced it earlier, was just the power of having faith in your life. I was surrounded by these people that were like incredibly peaceful and happy. And I think at the end of the day, it was because they had deep faith in something bigger than themselves. And so absolutely, it has helped me throughout my life. Appreciate every moment that you're there and learn as much as you can. And whatever it is you learn, carry it forward into your life, because the things you learn at camp, no matter what you end up doing in your life, whether you're a doctor, a mason, whatever, they're going to make you better at that.
Really, that's an amazing story. I love talking to Jimmer, and every time I do, I hear more about how camp has impacted his life and really set the tone for who he was to become. And what I really love about Jimmer is that he is trying to help kids who were just like him and know that they too can have a bright future if folks will just come alongside and be helpful. We really are grateful for Jimmer sharing his testimony. And as you've heard from Jimmer, and you'll hear from others, camp is more than just a fun experience away from home. I think you just heard a story that perfectly illustrates the type of impact the Salvation Army camping and retreat can have on young people. And so I say to all of you here today, all on the call, and all who will see this afterward, thank you for your years of support for Salvation Army camping. You've made a difference and are making a difference by transforming the lives of so many young people like Jimmer. And for that, we are just incredibly grateful and want to say thank you. So now we've heard about the past. And again, you've caught that the theme of our lunchtime is past, present, future. So we've heard about the past. So we're going to talk a little bit about what camp looks like today in the midst of the pandemic. As you know, COVID it's just changed everything. Our neighbors across New York State have felt the dramatic effects of COVID-19. And for that reason, in the past year, we have served well over 684,000 families, resulting in over 100,000 nights of shelter, over 124,000 sessions of pastoral care. And I want you to really hear this number, over 15 million meals served across Empire State Division. And camp has played a major role in the way that the Salvation Army has responded to the pandemic. As we continue to provide increasing levels of traditional emergency assistance throughout the pandemic, throughout this past year, we recognized that trauma-informed care was emerging as an important need for our neighbors who continue to be impacted by the economic and social effects of COVID-19. And for that reason, because of that, what we did is we realigned our programs at Long Point Camp to offer frontline essential workers and their families the opportunity for a socially distanced getaway to start the healing process from the emotional and traumatic impacts that COVID-19 has had on their lives. All of us have struggled through the pandemic, and friends, I interact with our frontline workers all the time, and I'm here to say that these are heroes, and anything we can do to brighten their life and the life of their families is extraordinarily positive. So since last May, our respite camp program has provided and continues to provide to these essential workers, to their families, the care that they need. And that includes specialized activities like swimming and hiking and boating in the summer months, and snowshoeing and sledding and cross-country skiing during the winter months, all in a safe and socially distanced environment that offers counseling and pastoral care if they want it in a retreat in respite framework. Our respite camp is helping so many of our frontline workers during this difficult time, and we are blessed today to have a few who want to tell their story. So first of all is a frontline worker from Oneonta. Her name is Sayre Bender. So would you greet Sayre? And Sayre, will you tell us a little bit about your experience?
Hi, I'm new to the Empire Division. We were moved here from Northern Kentucky, right outside Cincinnati, in August, in the middle of the pandemic. So at the start of the pandemic, as you know, everything shut down in Kentucky as well as in New York. A lot of people were working from home. Businesses were closed. Everyone was afraid. I remember my husband sanitizing all of our groceries. And the Salvation Army went into crisis mode as well, but they didn't have the option to shut down because people needed us. People needed our services. So we found a way to remain open and to continue to serve as safely as possible because the need for our services was really at its greatest. And so I continued to work. My job really shifted from the things I had done before the pandemic. There was a lot of emergency disaster work going on, a lot of hauling food, a lot of packing boxes. Even our summer camp, we were designing and distributing day camp boxes instead of having an in-person program. And it really was an incredibly stressful time for me and for my family. It was a lot of change, and it was a changing world as well. We didn't know a lot about the virus. I was afraid every day that maybe I would bring the virus home to my family, and that I might be putting my children at risk by going out and working. And the normal things I would do to kind of relieve stress was taken away. Parks were closed. I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't meet up with friends. We couldn't go on vacation. And to add to that stress, we got moved in the middle of the pandemic. So we had to pack boxes and change states and change state regulations and quarantine for 2 weeks when we arrived. So it was a very whirlwind time for us, but moving to Empire brought us an incredible opportunity. We were able to enjoy true rest at Long Point Camp. When I was a kid, I was born and raised in Empire. I attended Long Point as a camper. I met my husband there when I worked as staff. My husband and I were married at Long Point Camp. So the ability to return to Long Point and just enjoy the camp was such a blessing and a privilege. It's one of my favorite camps in the Salvation Army. I think I'm a little biased, but to be able to just reminisce and share it with my children was truly special. They were able to enjoy the camp experience for the first time. kayaking and roasting marshmallows and skipping rocks. My son loves to throw things, and he could do that safely by throwing rocks into the lake. And due to the virtual nature of schooling this year, I was able to take them in the middle of the school year, and they didn't have to miss out. So they were able to do their Zoom meetings with the lake in the background, and be able to still participate in school. Respite was an incredible experience during one of the hardest years I think any of us have had to experience, not just myself. And being a frontline worker, honestly, I was running on fumes. So being able to go and rest and relax and not have to continue to give and work prevented burnout. So I'm thankful for the Salvation Army and for the generous donors and the people that made it possible for essential workers like me to be able to experience respite at Long Point Camp.
Sayre, thank you so much for what you've said and the presentation you gave. I'll tell you, the thing that impacted me is just as you were talking about the fact that your kids couldn't go to the park. There were pictures of your kids at Long Point, or your kids couldn't go on vacation. There you were, at camp, kids in kayaks, kids over a campfire. This is what respite is all about, and I'm so pleased that it was a good experience for you. We also have another young man who wants to share his story. He too had the opportunity to spend some time at Long Point. So his name is Paul Beverly. Paul, would you share your story?
Well, thanks, Major Rock. I'm Paul Beverly. I have been here at the Salvation Army for about 5 years now. This is my wife, Rachel, and my daughter, Mabel. So my respite camp experience was a real relief for myself and my family. My wife was about 3 months pregnant with our daughter when COVID hit, and it changed the way we both had to interact with the world. She loves to present, by the way. And as my wife neared her late August due date, she began getting more and more uncomfortable. She was suffering from some terrible sciatica pains and had the usual swelling that accompanies late stage pregnancy. Yeah. And our doctor recommended swimming to relieve some of the pain, but we really didn't have access to public pools due to the pandemic. And our local beach, our local beach was a little bit too crowded for us to feel comfortable. So it was really a blessing for us to have the opportunity to go to respite camp just a few weeks before my wife's due date. We spent the whole day pretty much swimming in the pool, which was so comforting for my wife. She even forgot that she was pregnant for a few minutes. And then we were able to walk around the grounds for a while, and we saw some amazing wildlife. And we still talk about the bald eagles and Baltimore Orioles that we saw on the trip. And I think the most welcome gift was the opportunity to just spend some time away from the house that we've been kind of trapped in for about a year before our family grew. So in total, I think respite camp provided us safety from COVID, a lot of peace of mind, and some physical well-being that rejuvenated us and allowed us to kind of get ready to bring in our beautiful baby daughter into the world 2 weeks later. So we couldn't be more grateful. It was a wonderful time.
Paul, thank you so much for sharing that. And it is wonderful to see you, of course, but I have to say it's great to see the little one. She's beautiful, and it's wonderful to meet your wife. So thank you for your story. We have one more couple who want to share their experience at respite at Long Point, and that is Matt and Hillary Jones. So Matt, Hillary, share with us.
Hi, like Major Rock said, my name is Hillary, my husband.
Matt.
And we also are frontline workers in Rochester, New York. We've been here, we're going into our 5th year. And this last year, like for everyone, has been a real challenge. We have 3 children who are all in school and spent the better of 9 months last year in our home within these walls and doing online education and trying to kind of fill in the social gaps that they were really missing with friends. And it was just a real challenging time. And we typically spend a lot of our vacation time with family. And last year it was really difficult to see anyone. with the concerns of bringing COVID to anyone or getting it ourselves with our young children. So as we approached Christmas time, we were really, we were exhausted and we were really in need of a break. And so we began trying to plan, how can we safely see family and be able to get out of our home for a little while, just to disconnect from everything that, that we'd been doing. And I remember the invitation from our divisional leadership saying that camp was a place that we could take advantage of and have respite. And although camp is usually synonymous with summer, we were kind of like, wow, just the idea of being at camp was so inviting that I remember sending an email to Major Rock just saying, hey, is there any possibility that we might be able to spend some time in a safe, distanced way, but with our family, so that we're not all in one house with my in-laws and my husband's sister and brother. And the email came back almost instantly. Yes, of course. And just to say that we felt heard and appreciated and supported by the divisional leadership over the last year and beyond is an understatement. Just this simple gesture, of a place to go and spend time, was so appreciated. So we had a very busy Christmas. We just the COVID restrictions and the ways we had to navigate different way of distributing presents and food and everything at Christmas time was a real challenge. And we wanted to do the best we could. So we put everything into it. And knowing that we were able to go to camp after Christmas and just spend time with our family was incredible. We spent a few days there and it was beautiful. Even in the winter, we were able to do hiking and campfires. And most importantly, we spent real quality time together with our family and our children. And they still talk about our time at camp to this day. And we are just so thankful for the divisions, just the way that they care for us frontline workers and the way that they extended this invitation, and for all the donors that made this camp possible for us to be able to go to. And we had probably the best time we've ever had after Christmas with family, just with the beautiful lake in the background. And it might have been cold, but it didn't matter. It was so relaxing and wonderful there. We just wanted to live there. We didn't want to leave, but we're so thankful for that time that we had, and just the memories that we were able to make amongst a terrible time in the world. We were able to make some real quality memories with our children. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I think it's important to point out that the amount of people that you, Matt and Hillary and Paul and Sayre and so many others, the amount of people you've been able to help is just outstanding. You really are heroes, and you deserve those few days just to be with your family. So thank you for that. When we started Respite, our goal was simple. It was really just to help individuals on the front lines and their families to begin to recover from the effects that COVID-19 had on their lives. And we know it's dramatically impacted all of us, probably for the rest of our lives. And we know that a healthy mindset in the present can make way for a brighter future. And so what we'd like to do now is talk a little bit about, and we're just so excited to share with you our ideas for the future of Long Point Camp. And to tell you a little bit about the future of Salvation Army Camping Ministry, I want to introduce to you someone who is on our team at the state headquarters. Her name is Major Sue Kelly. She's the Divisional Program Secretary. So why don't you greet Major Sue Kelly?
Thank you, Major Rock. Well, we're excited to say that we are opening up Long Point Camp this summer. It's been open this whole time, but we are doing a big celebration of summer opening because we'll be able to see many, many more faces this summer than we were able to see last summer. First and foremost, the respite camps Major Rock referenced and those who shared their stories from will be continuing all throughout this summer and into the fall as well. But this continues to pave the way for recovery, even for more and more of our upfront workers. But along with that, extended Salvation Army community respites will be taking place at the same time, meaning that Salvation Army community respites, community groups can bring groups to camp for 3 days to enjoy all of the amenities that camp has free of charge. And these groups will include the children that would be normally coming to camp during the summer if it wasn't for the pandemic, some of our clients who receive our services, and even individuals and families who worship with us. So we'll be able to bring even more people. Some of the people who receive social services in our programs will be able to come out for day trips if they're not able to come for the overnight trips, which is something that we've not really been able to provide for before. We are also excited that we will be able to have senior citizens camp once again. We're not sure yet if we'll be able to do it this year due to safety concerns, but we're looking forward to being able to address the crisis that we have today of loneliness and the social and emotional components that are missing in the lives of our community members since this pandemic began. And we're certain that providing these experiences will help with that. We couldn't be more excited about all of this, but I do need to share that due to this pandemic and the reduction of overall guests to Long Point Camp last year, we have a little bit of maintenance to do to get camp ready for the summer of 2022 and beyond. So let's take a look.
Hello, we are Captains Martinez, and we're the new directors for Long Point Camp.
We are Captains Nidia and Luis Martinez, and we are so excited to share the Salvation Army's Long Point Camp. Thank you.
Thank you, Captains Martinez, for that virtual tour. As if you didn't already know how impactful life can be, I hope those pictures gave you a good example of the smiles and the opportunities that people have, both young and old, as they come out to camp. Our focus for the next 12 months, besides finally being able to welcome more individuals and families back to camp, is to tackle the projects that you've just seen. Camp is a great resource, but we have some projects ahead of us. You'll know that when our youth return, they're going to need all the opportunities possible to engage in quality physical activity, to get off of those computer and TV screens that they've spent hours and hours in front of, and out into the fresh air to enjoy a new and updated ropes course, to play basketball and other sports in our gym, especially on those rainy days, and to enjoy our boating program through updated boats and docks, ensuring that it's a welcoming and safe environment for all. And of course, there's always the ongoing maintenance throughout the entire camp, like painting projects, the need for new windows for many of our buildings, which is a great need right now. And we're laying the groundwork for a healthy and happy summer camp in 2022 for the hundreds and hundreds of children that we are dearly missing this year.
Thank you, Major Kelly, and all of our presenters today. Thank you, Major Rock, for moderating the session as well. We do have a few minutes, so we want to open it up for some questions or comments. If anyone has any, you can pop them right into the chat section there, and we will try to answer them. But to get us started, I do have one, either for Major Rock or Major Sue, just to kind of give us an overview. What do you think are the biggest capital needs that Long Point Camp has right now?
Well, maintaining a camp of that nature is that size with that many buildings is never easy. We do everything we can because we want the kids and the families who come to camp to have the best possible experience. They deserve to have the absolute best possible experience because that gives them really a good start to their life. We want them to have a good future. I would say that the largest project, the most important project we have right now is our window project. I know that's not as exciting as putting up a new building or a playground, but when windows start falling out of buildings, that can be a problem. That can be an issue. And so we do have in our dining hall, you saw a little bit of that. It's a beautiful place, but some of the windows need help. In our cabins, you saw some of the cabins. The windows some of them are having to be screwed back in and are falling out. So I would say the largest project we have is the windows. I think Major Sue Kelly hit on some of the others there. We want to enhance the ropes course. That can be a powerful team building opportunity for families, and we want them to have that experience. So the rope course needs a little help, and I think you saw the docks and places need to be spruced up. So these are some of the projects that I would say are most important. Major Kelly, did I hit on the important ones? Are there others that come to your mind?
You definitely did. Along with the docks, we used to have 2 pontoon boats, and that gave us the opportunity when we had senior citizens here on camp along with children to make sure that there was an opportunity for all of them to experience that. One of our pontoon boats is no longer working. The remaining one is in quite disrepair. There's no awning to protect from the sun at this point. So we definitely need to work on that so that we can provide that opportunity for both our kids and our senior citizens.
Beautiful.
Thank you. What has been the greatest lesson learned from COVID about the campership experience?
That's a really good question. I'll go first, Sue. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Okay. I would say that we've all learned many, many lessons from COVID. The first one that comes to my mind is just how important connecting with others is to all of us. Just how important it is that not just adults, but I would say even especially children, have that opportunity to interact in a physical way, to be able to play with other children and be able to interact with parents and to do so in a safe environment. And camp has provided that. So what are the lessons we're learning? We need to pivot how we've done camp. The purpose of camp has always been to enhance the lives of children, and COVID changed the way we do that, but it doesn't change the mission. It doesn't change the purpose. And so we have had to find ways to provide children the opportunity to be outside in a safe place and to play, to come together with maybe small number of other kids, but still be able to play. You heard Paul talk about the fact that it was an opportunity for his wife, who was expecting, to be able to swim in a safe way. And I think Paul even said, just to forget for a minute that she was pregnant, just to have that little bit of relief. We want to it's a wonderful resource that God has given us, and it is our absolute intention to use it in ways that will positively change the trajectory of people's lives. God will allow us to use it just to transform lives, so that kids whose life was perhaps not looking so good can learn. As Jimmer said, I learned that making my bed was important. I learned about organization. I learned that someone loved me. And that changed the direction of his life. That's what camp is about. And just because COVID is here doesn't mean that we're changing what we're trying to do there and what we are doing there. Sue, any thoughts you want to add to that?
Yeah, I agree 100%. The first thing that came to my mind was the loneliness that people are experiencing. And I think Paul is the one who referenced being kind of stuck in the same four walls. And for many of our children and many of our families, they don't have a house. They don't have an upstairs or a downstairs or a backyard. Many of them live in apartment buildings. And so access to being outside in fresh air, especially seeing some of the amazing wildlife that we have out here that Paul also referenced, that's just not available to most of our people. And so this is an opportunity for them to be outside, standing by the lake, skipping stones. That's such a healthy thing to just be able to talk and think and maybe even talk with somebody who's standing next to them about what they've been going through. They wouldn't do that if you sat them down at a table. But in a relaxed atmosphere like this, people can talk freely and maybe even get help that they didn't know they needed.
Yeah,
Thank you both. Are there any other questions before we wrap up for the afternoon here? Well, if not, thank you again for joining us today to celebrate the past, talk about our present, and outline our vision for the future. Thank you to everyone who has supported Long Point Camp over the years, has visited over the years. We wouldn't have been able to be here nearly 70 years later without your continued support. If you're interested in a tour of the camp, don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us. We would love to show you around. That concludes our program for today. Have a blessed day, everybody.
God bless everyone. Good to see you. Bye-bye now.